Ray?
Reach out for a bigger deal.
Do you want to go see this?
Watch this one? Oh.
Oh.
Where's no?
I'm so proud to
Oh God, look at my hair.
Oh,
Look at Jeannie.
Wow.
Niagara Falls behind him. See Niagara Falls?
nice.
You don't know what Niagara Falls looks like there. Look at it.
Yeah, he looks scared.
I would be if I was that close to the falls. Is it going to hurt himself?
Nice.
Nice picture,
Yeah,
Mary.
tissues.
Oh, that's really nice.
Aw.
That's a keeper.
Sweet.
Oh,
picture.
my first crush. My God, he's so handsome.
That's the guy I know.
Frank, that's where you
You're
get it
like
from.
watching a video that we're not watching.
Cute. Oh, look at that small.
Oh,
Michael,
that's
can
so
you
nice.
see the screen? Thank you.
Cute kids. They're so little.
Graham.
They almost knocked your hat off, Mare.
Yeah, remember that day, Mare? Oh, look at Banana.
Mary's kids, Sarah and Steven.
Aw.
Yeah, that's Steven.
Aw.
Oh, that's Dan's
You
wedding.
see where we don't get the face?
That's Uncle Dan and Aunt Maria's wedding.
Nice.
Oh,
Aw, Katie. How cute.
Yep.
They have pooper doopers.
Nice.
Oh, the footsie.
Hey, Uncle Frank.
Oh, Grandpa Garcia.
Cassie, did you, Patricia, you see that one?
Oh, wow.
Cute.
Oh, this is Sister Teresa.
Wow.
So handsome. Oh,
Those
my
are the
God.
pictures we remember.
That's it,
Hey,
man.
Pop,
That
how's
was
it going?
Yep. Here's Aunt Dana.
I am. Can I call you back in a little while? I'm in the middle of something right now, Pop.
Hi, look at me.
Oh my gosh, how cute.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Fun.
Who is it?
That's right
Nice
after Mom
picture.
died at Michael's.
Right.
It was a little weird when he stayed, but that guy was a little weird.
That's a great shot.
Yes, it was.
Very good.
Ah, look at
Anchors away, brother.
Is that your dad?
Look at Tyler.
Oh my
Big
God, it
flight.
looks like Hunter to me.
Hello, I miss you.
Oh, good
Wow.
There he is, Guido. Ah,
There's the Guido shot.
Oh, boy.
that's my Guido.
I'm getting that jacket.
I don't think anybody's gonna fight you on that, Frank.
I can't believe how much you guys look like him.
Yeah.
That was nice, Michael.
Michael, that was beautiful.
It was
Nice job, Mike.
Good job, Mike.
very nice.
Thank you. I know that Mary wanted to say something. Mary, you wanna
Yeah.
go ahead?
All right, I love
She's
you.
on the phone.
I love you.
She's on the phone.
Frozen. I'll go while she's
She's
waiting.
on the
So,
phone with her agent.
I think, yeah. Mary, do you want to go?
That was Jean. She can't get
Okay.
on. It's not supported, so she just wants it sent to her.
I will.
On her
Okay.
tax lawyer.
So if I could have everybody click mute just so we can hear. And
If you need help clicking mute, just kind of wave your hand. I can mute from there.
I'm sorry, so I was talking to Sarah. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it very much. Everybody in our family does. It's a sudden thing that happened. Thank you, Michael, for setting this up. We really appreciate it. Really, you've outdone yourself. I don't know what to say. I've been talking to Dad over the last few months about everything that he's wanted and everything that's been going on. The heart attack was very unexpected. He was not having any heart issues at all. He has been having problems with his kidneys, and that seemed to be about stabilization and getting okay, but this just came out of nowhere. So I just wanted to think about a few things that he did when we were little. I don't know if my siblings remember, but I'm the oldest, so I know Tricia probably remembers because she's only a year behind me. But Dad taught us a lot of things. Taught us all how to fly fish with that stupid orange yarn in the backyard, flipping it, 37, 5, whatever it was. And that's a good memory to remember. Dad always played 5 lines, where he'd draw 5 lines on the paper, and we all had to draw something. He was very, very artistic his entire life, and I'm glad that in that aspect I do take after him. And I remember as me and Mary Teresa, Patricia, we were walking home from the store at the lake, and he'd ride up next to us and say, "Hey, you guys tired of walking?" And we'd run, yeah. And he'd go, "Okay, then run." And he'd leave us freaking behind. He did this to us more than once.
And you fell for it.
And we fell for it, coming home from Chubby's, coming home from the penny store, candy store at the lake. And just a lot of good memories. He always was up for a good time. Remember him sitting at the family picnic with a cigar in his mouth and ashes from one end to the other, and he's just sleeping. He could sleep anywhere. He just, right? That's him. He just was a good inspiration in my life, and I'm glad that I got to know him. I wish I was able to know my mom like that. I never thought after my mom died that my father would ever marry anybody again. And when he started dating Jean, it was so cute because he called me and said, "Mary, I've been dating Jean, met her, she's so sweet. She looked a little bit like my mother and had the same kind of things with food issues." And he said, "I'm going to ask her to marry me." I said, "Oh, that's good. She did so much for him with all the tubes and pipes that he had and everything going off. And I'd like to thank her for everything she did at the end of Daddy's life, because he was pretty sick with no kidneys, only at 19%. And she really was there for him. She actually did 10 minutes of CPR on him the night he died. And that's got to be tough. I don't know if any of us could imagine facing this. Seeing your spouse, your husband, your parent, and having to do CPR, that's got to be hard. I know I almost faced it a few times, and it's very difficult. But anyway, so.
And I almost wish it took.
Shut up! Dork. But I'm excited to hear about everybody's stories, because I know everybody has stories about my Cooper Dooper. And I'm looking forward to hearing everybody. Of course, Linda Mezzatesta is sitting there cooking her dinner. She's just going along.
3 kids, teaching, working, got to do it.
Yes. Wayne wants to say something about Dad.
Well, I've been part of this family for nearly 40 years. And I grew up in a very different household. I didn't know really like a sense of humor around in the family. Your father was always in for teasing me you know, giving me, hey, Wayne, try this. It's really good. And of course, it'd be the spiciest thing in the world. And he always got a good chuckle out of that. And I always got a good late night constitution out of it. And no, he was a good man. He was always pleasant to talk to. You know, we enjoyed our late night card games and stuff. It was good that the past few years we were able to go down there at least maybe twice a year to see him. So it was nice of, you know, because in the beginning when he went down there, we never saw him. But it was good that the last three or 4 years we would go down there, you know, once, I think probably twice a year. And it was sad to see him get sick, you know, when he was always so outgoing. You know, he always out doing something, and you know, making birdhouses or making flies. So it was, you know.
He couldn't fix a car.
No, he couldn't fix a car for the hell.
No, he'd fix it, but his hands, you know, his fingers don't work.
Yeah, he's sitting next to me. He's sitting next to me while I'm fixing his car for him. I'd love to help you, Wayne, but my fingers just
they
can't.
Don't work.
It's okay. So, but he was a good man to me. I enjoyed him. So that's about it.
Thank you, guys. So, what I'm gonna do is,
Thank you, Wayne.
I'm gonna, if you want to say something, just kind of give us a wave, and we'll let you talk about all the old man and something. Trisha, you see your hand go up? Oh, okay. Did somebody want to say something? And you know what? This is, let's be honest, it's my father. So, you know, appropriate, I think, kind of went out the window. Well, I'm 45, so 45 years ago, but probably even before that. So one of my funniest memories was camping with Dad, and he was in a hammock outside, and it flipped. And as some of you know, and if you were there, my father slept with no clothes on. So tied up, foot up in the air, and out popped his derriere. So, you know, so there's those things too that he taught us a lot, and I learned a lot, you know, through scouts and whatnot with him. And I really, you know, it's hit me a little harder than I thought it was going to be honest with you. And so I just, you know, I miss the old man. Does anybody want to say something? Go ahead, Mary. I'll unmute you. There you go. There you go, Mary Teresa. Oops.
Yeah, so I would think my memories of him are he's sitting in his big chair in that little room in Bethel where we used to watch TV. And all of us would sit and watch, and he'd try to tell us a story or tell us to shush, and we could not stop laughing. Every time he started to say something, we would get thrown out of that room all the time. You know, remember your mom used to have, like, we had to eat a piece of fruit before we could have cheese doodles. So we'd be peeling our orange, and he'd be like, "Shut up, I'm trying to watch the damn TV." And we're laughing. Oh my gosh, I just remember he had no patience with us. But, you know, he was so interesting because he had hobbies that my parents didn't have, you know, and I thought that, you know, as a kid, it was weird, but he knew so much about things that I had never experienced. So he was really an interesting guy. And if you got him one-on-one, you could have like the longest conversation. He didn't like crowds. He didn't like sharing the room, but he was really lovable.
Definitely.
Thank you, Mary Teresa.
Hey, Kevin, we'll go with you next. Unmute yourself, Kev.
Okay.
Kev, you have to unmute first.
I'm just, looking back, my memories are basically from the lake and living next door to you guys. And just the funny thing about the Wayne with the spicy food. I used to come over to the house and he would say, do you want something to eat? We're cooking, and I would look past him to your mom to see who cooked it. Because if she cooked it, I'm like, yeah, I'll stay and eat. If he cooked it, I'd be like, no, I got a game and I got to go, because he got me a couple of times with that hot food. And and also, like Mary said, my father, didn't have hobbies. He worked and he worked on the house, and that was it. And
Never cooked.
Never cooked. And Uncle Frank, when we were, my father was a Cub Scout leader. I'm like, nobody must have volunteered for that, because to have my father doing a Cub Scout leader, he didn't know anything about the outdoors. And when we had problems where we were supposed to get a merit badge or something, walk across the lawn, go to Uncle Frank, how do you tie this knot? How do you do this? What should you do that? So basically, he helped me cheat and get all my badges. So I remember that about him. Just a, great guy. And it was just fun growing up next to you guys. And, I haven't seen him in a while. Everyone's life now is, so many things going on. And you do miss that, you wish we all could have stayed in that lake and grew up in the same houses and still be here talking about it. And I'm sure I would have a million more stories. But, I've just, feel bad for you guys. He had a great life. He did a lot of things that he loved. The fly fishing is, it's amazing that, out of, like, nobody really fished in our family. Stephen once in a while, and Uncle Frank would help him, tell him how to tie a knot, and, but I really had a great time knowing him. And I'm sorry for you guys. Losing your dad is tough, and too many of us have gone through it. And just try to remember the good things. So
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kev.
Thank you.
When we have you guys speak, there's a couple of people, we don't know everybody here, so just kind of say how you know the old man, and where, so we can all kind of introduce. Who would like to go next? Anybody? Okay, John.
I am your grandmother's sister's son. So Aunt Mary, Aunt Ray, Aunt Josie, those were all the women together. And Aunt Dana. God bless Aunt Dana. And in the summertime, we would come up. Frankie, that's what I called him, your father. He was 2 years older than I am. And I would come up in the summertime. This is going back to, God, in the 40s and 50s. Sorry, guys. And we would just spend weeks together. He and I would go down to the lake, fishing, doing all kinds of stuff. And then your grandfather always had a job for us. We had to turn over that big pot of dirt because he always had to plant something, but we had to turn the dirt over every year and take care of it.
He came back
And then,
from Atlanta.
well, it's, yeah. And then when he went in the Navy, I went in the Army, and we got out, and I was going to school down in Florida, went to college in Florida, and he and Edna came down. And we went out together. We spent a weekend together. And then after college, when I got married,
The weddings.
the weddings, and then he came down and visited us,
Yeah.
right?
He stayed in Atlanta.
Stayed in Atlanta. We moved all around the country, just corporate gypsies. But he came down to Atlanta, and then when we came back to Florida in '91, he came down here.
Yes.
Saw him a couple of times down here. I'm really sad to say, for the last 2 years, we're always going to get together. He kept saying, we'll get together. We talk on the phone. And, okay, I'll come over there. Well, not right now because I'm not doing too well. All right, well, you know, we can meet halfway, do something. Unfortunately, we never got to do it. I talked to him, what was it?
Maybe a couple months ago.
Couple months ago. And we said that we would do it, but we haven't gotten it. One of the things I can tell you that your dad always was,
Fun.
he always had a laugh. He always was full of fun. It was always a good time. I never saw him with a puss on, right? He was always with a cheerful smile.
And a joke.
And a joke. And a joke. We had great times together. We did. And you were talking about it, Casey, about, you know, moving away. Well, hey, as we grew older, we parted. I think the last time we got together as a family, I was telling Michael and some of the others when we first started, was your grandfather's 50th wedding anniversary. That's the last time I think we saw everybody. And outside of that, again, we were, I forget where we were living now. I don't know if it was Illinois or California or Florida, but anyhow, it's great to see all of you. Michael, great job. And your dad was a heck of a guy.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, John. John, I'll tell you, my brother and I actually turned that pile over about a dozen or so times ourselves as well. So it passed on from generations. I think sometimes I feel the urge to go back and turn it just anyway, just to make
I have the barrel in my backyard right now.
Yeah. Go ahead. There you go. I unmuted you.
Okay, you can hear me?
Hit us.
Now? All right, so I'm Joey Malafronte. My brother just spoke, John's brother. And I remember going up to Putnam Lake as a little kid, just having a great time with like I was, I don't know, I'm 73 now, so whatever that makes me, according to Frankie. And we always had a good time with, I can't hear you guys. I got to push something?
No, you're good. We're all
I'm good? Okay.
So we can hear you.
Just had a great time. We went up there. We'd have a good time with Uncle Frank and Aunt Thana. We called her Aunt Thana, Thana, even though her name was A. And Aunt Ray was my mom, John's mom, my sister's Mariana. And of course, I was Teresa's age.
I gotta interfere. I'm his wife, Conchetta, and when I came from Italy, and the first time, and I came to Putnam Lake and stuff, and I didn't speak much English at all because he used to make fun of me. We had fun. So that was like 1967, 68. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had good times. We had parties up there. We had like a Cosa Nostra party where all the relatives got together. I remember Uncle Frank, meaning would be your grandfather, I guess. And then Uncle Frank, he had like a big truck there, and he had a duck pond. I cut my knee. He told me about Mr. Magoo up in the ceiling. I'd get scared, and we just had a great time going to Putnam Lake year after year with all our relatives, and it was just a part of our life. And
Joe, you remember you couldn't flush the toilet too many times.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah, we did go to the
That's
bathroom.
right.
Yeah,
They lived in that hotel. I don't know if you guys
yeah.
ever saw the hotel they lived in. He was always fixing a room. Uncle Frank was always fixing a room. And I remember, you know, Frankie went in the Navy. I went in the Navy. He was a state trooper at one time. I remember those things. And we just had a good time with him. He was like Uncle Frank Junior because they look so much alike. So I'm gonna miss him. You guys had a great father.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Does anybody want to say something else? Go ahead, Teresa. Oh, hold
You
on.
have to unmute her, Mike.
So I'm Teresa, and I used to come up to Putnam Lake all the time. And when I would come up, I would walk up to the little house that you guys, well, the boys weren't born yet, the 3 girls were. But we used to go down to the lake a lot, and I called him Junie, I didn't call him Frank. And whenever we would go up there and we'd go down to the lake, when I was younger, I had tripped down by the lake, and I guess I rolled, and that is where Butterball came about. And he has called me Butterball all my life. I'm 64 years old, and I saw him a few months ago, and he's still calling me Butterball.
He did. He did.
He would not know me otherwise. But him and my father were very big teasers. They loved to instigate, and whenever we were up there, it was always a fabulous time. We'd go play cards. Edna and Junie were always coming over, and the girls. I really didn't get to know the boys at all, you guys at all. But
Hi, I'm Frank.
hi, Frank. I didn't realize that was who you were with the
That's
name you
me.
got up there.
That's me.
That Putnam Lake was, the memories just very big. Very big.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I remember spending time with you, Therese.
We really had a good time back then, huh?
Yeah, we did. A lot of good food.
Yeah, always. And Dana was a heck of a cook.
Yeah, she was.
And I know by not being able to use the water, because Teresa constantly would say, come on, we have to wash the dishes, and we have to do it a certain way because you can't waste water. But I do remember when Donna and Diane and we were there, we went down to the lake, and we came out of the lake and we felt disgusting. We wanted to take showers, and you can't take showers. So we went upstairs, and your grandfather had, the sink was connected, but the water just trickled out of the sink. But the 3 of us tried to wash our hair in that sink.
I gotta
because
ask
we
you,
weren't allowed to wash it downstairs. And you couldn't flush unless you took number 2. Only number 1.
Oh, thank God, yes.
I gotta ask a question. Does anybody remember your grandfather?
Oh, yeah.
His fork for spaghetti.
Yes, he had a special fork.
Who got the fork?
It's a 3-pronged fork.
Yeah.
Teresa got it. Who do you think got it?
I'll have to ask Aunt Teresa.
Dubek, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I did. Well, it's kind of coming off a couple comments about his smile, because some people called it joyful and jovial, maybe, or something along those lines. And as a 13-year-old kid coming to the house, where I pretty much lived for a couple summers, I remember getting caught at the door because I was gonna enter the house and he was coming out, and he's like, "So you're here to see Michael?" And I'm like, "Yeah," utterly terrified. And then he pulls out this gigantic knife out of nowhere and unfurls it, and he's like, "So why don't we play Mumbly Peg?" And I'm like, "What the hell is Mumbly Peg?" I'm like, I don't know. So he's got this huge smile on with a gigantic knife in his hand, and I'm sitting there going he seems happy, but there's a knife, and I'm not quite so sure about this moment. But I felt kind of safe, and then thankfully Michael came to the door and was like, "Come inside." But it's that smile. He had that smile, and as a kid, I knew he was messing with me, but it was all right. It was great. There was love in that smile. So yeah, it was a terrified moment of a 13-year-old, but he was a great man, and he made me laugh. And I'm happy we have so many happy memories of him. He'll be missed.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
It's good
Thanks,
seeing you
Eric.
guys all. Like,
Good to see you as well.
A lot of memories on this screen.
Jack, you want to say something? He was waving.
Yes, I would like to say something. It took me almost 45 fucking minutes to get onto this Zoom meeting.
Dude, you're an
You
antique.
got somebody younger to help you out.
Why don't you, how about just try this for a second or two?
I'm younger and I struggled yesterday or last week.
Try to mute yourself. Because I have a lot of experience with these Zoom meetings because I go to other meetings for Zoom meetings, and the amount of numbers that were on here, the only numbers that weren't on here, the area codes and the phone numbers, there were like 16 different little communities in India that weren't included on this message that I got. So if it was a little simpler, it'd be great. I'm here now. I'm here to celebrate my brother-in-law, Frank Garcia. We understood it to be pronounced Garcia back then, but then it's of course is Frank Garcia. He married my sister, and you know a lot of you young ones weren't even around then, and that was you know sometimes you get to especially with the way things are going on now, we got a lot of time to think and to reminisce. You know, and to realize what's important. You know, and this is the first time I'm coming kind of Zoom face to face with a lot of you, and I'm overwhelmed. And it was because we're all getting together to pay tribute to Frank. I first met Frank when I was I don't know, maybe I was about maybe 10 or 12, 13 years old. He lived right across the street from us with his mom and dad and his sister. I remember going to Edna and Frank's wedding on Gun Hill Road back in the Bronx, and there was a storm and a blizzard. And they had paid for the wedding, and well, I don't know if they paid for it. They may have beat the check, but I do know this, that only about half of the people showed up. But I have this great memory as a kid standing out in that cold and seeing my sister coming out in her wedding gown with a black and white checkered jacket around her, and she had boots on. She had snow boots on, and the memories keep on flowing. You know, we were fortunate enough to when we lived up in Putt Lake that my brother Bernie bought the piece of property in the house right across the street from Frank's parents, and then my mom built a house there. So, and down the line, I wound up buying a house right across the street from there. And then next to us were the Crappers. And then eventually on the other side of my brother Bernie's house, we bought the house next to there with a piece of property. And that's one of my first memories of you kids are. Of Mary and Trish and Frank, Michael, you know, and Christine. And those were pretty incredible years, you know. And one of the things that came to my mind too is Frank Garcia. He was weird, man. You know, and he was like, he loved to fly fishing. I know for a while he made a living just making these fly hooks. And also too, I remember going down with him where he had a string attached to an arrow, and in a bow and arrow, he would try to shoot turtles in Putt Lake. Now, the truth of the matter is, if Bellevue was anywhere nearby, they'd have taken him away. For some reason or other, he kind of fit right in, you know. And he's also the guy that when I bought the house across the street from Grandma's house, he was the carpenter that helped me remodel it. And he put my kitchen countertops in there. He was always around to help you. He was, and here's the story. I posted this, but it's important. It's really important. Is that I have this sign that I think you kids have made a copy of it that hangs in my garage, And it's about 12 inches high by about 14 inches, and it's about 8 inches deep, and it has a light on the inside of it. And of course, it's the only thing that I ever want to hold on to, because it says starring Jack McGee. You know, and why wouldn't I want to hold on to that? And the history of that, I was looking at that. I look at it a lot. I looked at it since I heard of Frank leaving us, and I realized that Frank was the one that made that sign for me. He put that box together. He put the trim around it. He put the light bulb in it, and I was really overwhelmed when he gave it to me, because I was early on in pursuing this career that I was after. And the thing that he said to me was, he wanted to be the first person to put my name up in lights. That was Frank. That was your father. That was my brother-in-law.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
I was gonna end with a joke, but it's not that funny.
Thank you for making me cry.
Thanks, Uncle Jack.
So Renee, you wanted to say something?
I wanted to follow up with what Eric said, and everybody talks about his laughter and how, you know, how good he was and what a great heart he was. He scared the life out of me. He scared me to death.
Me too.
You know, I was a teenage girl hanging out, you know, with Christine. We went camping together, you know, with obviously my mom and dad and your parents, and we were together for weeks on end in the summers, and every Saturday night it was cards and it was barbecues and picnics, and we all just spent so much time together. And I remember just being scared of him, and I didn't want to go in the same room that he was in. He didn't want to touch the food that he might want to reach for. If Christine and I were going somewhere, where are you going? What are you doing? And then like you would leave and be like, holy crap, is he going to follow us? What's going on? Like, I just remember being scared of him. But then, as you all say, at the end of every night, he'd give you that little glint in his eye. Like, it's all in jest. We're all having a good time. I love you. And I'll see you next week, and we'll do this all over again. And, you know, we'd all pile in the car next Saturday and do the same thing next week and listen to him screaming at Frankie and screaming at Michael, and anybody that walked in the house, he would just scream and yell at everybody. And, but like I said, at the end of the day, he had that glint in his eye, and you knew it was all in love. And that's what I remember about him.
Thank you.
Thanks, Renee.
Thanks, Renee.
Renee, he only yelled at me because Frankie was doing something to me anyways.
Oh, I know. I was there. I saw it.
I took the blame for everybody.
I had the unique pleasure of calling
Not me.
pasta noodles one night at dinner.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a brutal end to that evening. It was.
Hi, Steven.
I don't know where I'm at.
Go ahead, Steven.
Just talk.
Just talk, Steve.
Hey, you got me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. You like my background, right?
I love it.
Looks great.
Yeah. Hey, I got a story. I think Jack stepped on my story a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I'll give it a shot anyway. I
Steven,
remember.
move out of the way so we can see the painting.
Duck, Steve.
Oh.
We don't need to look at you, Steve. Let's just see the painting.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it looks great, Steven.
Is that one of those killer bees on his mouth?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. All right. So anyway, when I was younger, Uncle Frank knew how to do stuff. My father, I think my grandfather, everybody else kind of like made their way through getting stuff done. But Uncle Frank knew how to do things. I mean, he really did. And the story that I think Jack stepped on a little bit, for me, it was a little different. Because when I was younger, like a young teen, there was a turtle in Putt Lake. And I don't know if it was true, but this turtle was like big and it was going to like eat one of the kids or something like that. Well, Uncle Frank did get his bow and arrow with a string attached. And I'm pretty sure he killed that turtle. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure he did. So I always remember that. He was like kind of my hero for that. Another thing is Uncle Frank. I used to like to draw when I was younger. I still do. But Uncle Frank was an artist, and he gave me a book, and it showed you how to draw. But I think the favorite part was it showed you how to draw nudes for me when I was younger. So I still remember that. I could see the pictures. That was like the first picture I drew, and I showed it to Uncle Frank. He's like, "Put that in the book." So
I hated posing though, Steve.
Yeah, it was a girl, Kev. Yeah, I do remember. I don't know if I dug any of the dirt in the yard, but we used to sneak around. It was always mysterious. Your grandfather's house, and my father used to laugh that I'm pretty sure he had half a bathtub in the yard.
He did.
Right, with
the Virgin Mary.
with the Virgin Mary on it. So we used to call it Mary on the half shell.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, and yeah. So I mean, he was a good guy. I really I wish I gave a little more effort to see you guys and see him more, but I do have good memories, and I will miss him.
Good. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thanks, yeah. All right, I'm going down. Going down.
That's awesome.
Uh,
I'm actually sweating. Well, I guess what I want to add to that is the McGee's were like part of the Garcia family growing up. So all of your stories I can relate to, and you know, my father used to make everybody, like you said, scared of him, but you know, being one of Daddy's little girls.
I wasn't scared of him.
He loved you, Stephen. Loved you guys. But I'm just having a hard time.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Not you, Butterball.
But he always, you know, he's a pain in the ass, let's be honest, you know. But those damn clothes that he wore, those checkered pants and frigging cowboy hats, and I have one somewhere, and those damn trucks, guys, come on, you have to remember the stupid camping trucks that he built off of the back of the pickup trucks that housed every single thing that he could possibly live off of for a year. But I remember, I think it was just us. I don't think the McGee's were camping, or Renee, I don't think you guys were either, but Daddy we would go up to the Catskills, and he would go fly fishing all day, and my mom and all of her friends were there, and my mom would be playing cards and drinking pina coladas. And one time Daddy was fishing all day, and my mom was taking care of us 5 kids and everybody else's kids, because that's who she was. And he came back one time with a line of fish, and he goes, "What's for dinner?" She goes, "Oh, I didn't start cooking yet. We're going to have chicken." And he got mad at her. He's like, "I've been gone all day. What have you been doing?" And she goes, "You want your beeping chicken? I'll give you a beeping chicken." Well, she started the barbecue inside of the screened-in tent and started taking barbecue sauce and humming it on the chicken. And it went up in flames. And of course, out of that stupid truck, he had a fire extinguisher. And yes, he was not a fireman. I remember Uncle Jack did not know how to use a fire extinguisher one time. Just kidding. And but he did. He put out that stupid screened-in tent thing, and yeah. But those awful clothes and those awful trucks. But I love the pain in the ass. So, but thank you everybody for coming on tonight and telling your stories.
Yeah, I want to reach out and say thank you to everybody for coming and at least giving me your time. It means a lot.
Frankie, what time does your show begin?
It's already on. You can't see it?
You're all dressed up, ready for a show.
Yeah, well, somebody got to respect the old man.
Jarrell said you got to play the piano now.
I can.
I think you look great, Frank.
Thanks, Jack.
You're a good man. You are your father's son.
I just like to say if it wasn't for my parents that, you know, Mary and Christine and Frank and Michael and I wouldn't have this crazy family that we love very much and our beautiful children and even Tyler. But we do. We're very thankful for all of you and family not blood associated, Jen and Eric and Stephanie and, you know, and anybody else.
Everybody.
Everybody.
We're very thankful for all of you.
I appreciate every one of you. Thank you.
You guys we talked a lot about extended family, and you guys seriously were my extended family and still are.
You are, Eric.
And as a side note, I'm still freaking out about Tyler and Katie. They're like way older than I remember, and I can't handle it right now.
Well,
tell me about you.
Remember you used to call her Munchichi, Mike?
I have that pictures. I have a whole album I found trying to find pictures for Michael's slideshow. I came across an album of Katie as a baby and that hair that just whoosh.
Yeah, I came across that creepy picture, Eric, of Lisa and me while Lisa was holding Katie the first time she ever held a baby. And it was just very awkward to look at two teenagers with a baby going, is that the parents? Yeah, so when we're going, yeah.
Oh, I want to see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Sure, it's freaky as all get out.
Right. Well,
Hi, Linda.
Hi. Oh, different Linda?
I just grew up going to your house and taking shit from your dad and taking shit from your mom and just loving them like they were my parents. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Oh, I love you, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jenny.
Michael, can you play the video one more time for people that maybe signed in a little late? Maybe that'd be a nice thing to do.
Sure, let me hold on one second, get it all set up. Does anybody want to say anything else before we go?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
I just want to let you know that I've had 5 or 6 text correspondence with Aunt Pat, and I thought I was bad, but apparently being married to a former DEA agent, they must be brain dead down there. They're probably running nude on the beach, not exercising social distance because she's frustrated she can't get onto the meeting.
Well, we have it recorded, Jack.
Or Uncle Jack. I talked to her yesterday, and she said if she couldn't get, we're recording this whole session, so I'll be able to
good.
get.
Good,
Yep.
okay.
And just so everybody knows, what I'm going to do is I'm going to collapse this at the end. We'll record it all, and then I'll just, like we've been communicating, I'll send it out to everybody, and you can rewatch it if you want and share it with people who couldn't join us. And I really appreciate, everybody here. I do, like Mary in the beginning, I want to, unfortunately, my dad's wife, Jean, could not join us today, but we'll make sure she definitely gets it. She was a big part of his life for many years, and she's family, just like everyone here is family. She's family, and we've promised her that, Mary and I and the rest of us will continue to bug her forever and ever. Amen. So,
Amen.
Just thank you guys. I'm gonna share my screen really quick and then share the video. And